Hello all and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. I know it has been a little while, but as I said, it is time to for things to start picking up. So here we go. I think I talked about in the last video I made that I was looking at doing a lasagna garden. Well, here it is. I've got one last load of mulch to put on top. And then I'm going to, looks like something dug around in here, of course, because underneath this layer of mulch I put compost. So something probably tried to eat something out of there, but I'm going to spray it down really good, get it wet, and then I'm going to add this last bit of mulch here on top, and then this will be ready to go. You could probably, pile it on higher, but I'm working with what I've got here. I don't have a ton of things to pile on. The very, obviously you can see the cardboard. I didn't bring this all the way out to the edge, and I may come along later and cut the cardboard that's sticking out, but I have the cardboard at the bottom because I mowed down as low as my blade could go, and then on top of that, I put grass clippings and some cuttings of just various, like I took cuttings from the hibiscus, well, there's some of that in there too, but the roselle, and tossed it in there while it was green. And then I put, on top of that, I put a bunch of dead leaves. And then on top of that, some more green, like I cut some just random like weeds and all sorts of stuff. Then I put some more, just some leaves, some mulch. I tried to do a green layer, a brown layer, green layer, brown layer. So, and then I put the layer of compost down, and then I put more mulch on top of that, and I'm going to top it off. And then after that, I'll be ready to go. What you do is you come in and you dig down until you get to the cardboard or whatever weed barrier that you're using. You punch holes in it, and then that way the roots can work down and go actually into the ground if they need to. And then you fill that you just dug with some potting soil, and you plant in there. Now I think a lot of people will use transplants to put in here. I don't have any. I didn't think about it, honestly, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put seeds in, and I'm going to grow some tomatoes and some kale, but I'm not going to start the kale until it gets later in the year because it likes to have some cold weather. So, but I'm going to plant some of the yellow pear tomatoes that I grow a lot, and that way I can give them, I'm not going to cram them all in either. I'm going to try to give them some good space, and I can probably come in when the time is right and put kale in between them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to finish putting on this mulch, and then I'll show you the finished product. So stick around. So now that is all finished, and what I need to do now is to wet it down really good. That's kind of one of the keys to doing this lasagna style garden, is to keep it wet. Keep the layers wet, because once you lock that moisture in, having all this mulch will help hold it in place. And this is an experiment. So this is something that because my soil is so poor, not that I am still planting out here, but because my soil is so poor, I'm experimenting and seeing if this actually yields me something. So another thing is, once you get one of these established, you just have to monitor it, and then over time it's gonna lose, like you'll see it shrink down, and you just have to put more stuff on top of it. What is the problem with I lost water here. I gotta find what There must be a kink in the hose or something. That's not the water. I don't know why I've been having so many issues with this hose. Sorry about this. This is real life, though. What is the problem here? I don't know. Bear with me 1 second. Make sure I actually have it turned on and didn't just turn it off. But yeah, so this is an experiment. We'll see how this works. And if I turned it off, that's why. There we go. If this works, then I will continue to, add to the pile, keep it maintained so that I can keep planting in here. I may do more of it, although it is quite a bit of work to get this planted. This is sort of like the there's a book by an author named Ruth Stout, and she talks about, her book is called Gardening Without Work, and this is how she I don't know if she's still alive, to be honest with you, but this is how she did it. Was she created these no-till lasagna style gardens that would block out the weeds and that sort of thing. I don't know where she was from, and that's one of the keys, because the grass and the weeds here in Florida are much, much, much more difficult to deal with than the grass and the weeds in a lot of other places in the United States. They're just a lot hardier. They're a lot tougher. They tend to just kind of laugh whenever you mulch something. They just poke right on through. And now this is a very deep, it may not be quite a foot deep, and that's something that, get that air potato out of there. That's something that David the Good, when he did a video about this, he talked about like making it about a foot deep. Well, I don't know if this is exactly a foot deep, but it's close, because I was measuring it. A foot is about to my mid-calf, and it was close. So, but yeah, we'll see if this is gardening without work. We'll see if this is, we'll see what this does. One of my concerns, I can see it already, is the grass around the edges. I can already tell it's going to try to climb. It's going to as it grows, it's going to try to climb over. You can see it's already starting to do it right there. And that's just one of my concerns. I don't have a St. Augustine grass yard. I have a whatever the heck grows out here yard. So there's lots of nut sedge, lots of bahia, lots of wildflowers, and some of these wildflowers will just climb on anything. The nut sedge is extremely tough, and the roots of a nut sedge are very kind of like rhizomes, so they spread underground, and they're very, very strong and very hard to get out of the ground. But we'll see what happens. This is an experiment. I hope it does well, and if it does well enough, I'll keep doing it. If it doesn't do well enough to deal with the extra work, then I'm not going to keep doing it. But in the process, hopefully this will, add some life back to my soil. Although I don't really plant here, but if this adds life down into the soil, I might plant here. My first ever garden that I had out here was a raised bed, and I think it was in this area right here, and it was very successful. So, speaking of raised beds, I may also do, I think that's good enough. I may also do a raised bed to plant some root vegetables. Like I wanted to plant some carrots and some turnips. So, but real quick, let me just show you some of what's going on in here. Like I said, the Florida weeds come right through mulch. So we'll see what happens. I don't even know if I knew there was a sweet potato there, but there's a sweet potato. That is a pumpkin. I planted a few pumpkins out here. One thing I did not stick in the, I did not chop and use this cassava for the lasagna garden, because if you chop a cane off of cassava, it will grow back. If you stick it in, if you bury it in any way, it will just start to grow. So I didn't do that. Here is the cilantro that I planted. It's looking a lot better now, although it has been dry lately, so I'm gonna need to water pretty soon. Another pumpkin. I planted some loofah along this this remesh panel, but for some reason this section right in here, for some reason, is so barren. Like, even though I chop and drop on top of it, that sort of thing, it just is very, very poor, and I don't get very many yields out of anything that I plant right here. So it's just one little section that's not doing very well. I topped this mulberry, so it's starting to kind of branch out in various places. I also planted some, me and my kids planted some sunflowers, the mammoth sunflowers. There's one coming up here. There's one right here. We planted more than that. I planted like one here on each side, but only the ones on the side closest to me are coming up. One there. There's one there. So sunflowers are pretty easy to grow, the mammoth ones especially. And then over here in this section, I just tossed a bunch of black-eyed peas. Over here, I tossed a bunch of black-eyed peas, just to try to put some nitrogen back into the soil. I'm gonna have to come in here at some point and really hoe this place down, because it's just getting overrun with weeds. This is what I'm talking about, the grass. You know, I get these, some sort of wildflower here. There's a random sweet potato. But this is nutsedge right here. And it's that one was a very small plant. It hasn't created the rhizomes yet. But, you know, it's just very, very difficult. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm starting to wish that I would have just kept doing the row style garden and kept hoeing it, to be honest with you. But right here, this little vine you see coming up here, I had planted some boniato, which I think is like a white sweet potato type thing. I planted it in my little wicking bed that I have just to get it started. It started pretty well, so I pulled it out of there. I was really only trying to pull one of the little slips out, but the whole thing came out, and I just stuck it right here so it can climb this panel. Now that right there, if you look closer at it, I swear to you, that looks like a yam. That does not look like a sweet potato. So maybe boniatos are in the yam family. I don't know. If you look, you can see that the roselle, come on, focus, is starting. It's going to be blooming soon. You can see the little flower buds coming up. The one I have in the front is really making more flower buds. So I'm happy about that, because I was concerned that they weren't going to do that. So I need to come out here and hoe back some of the stuff around these trees. But I want you to look at this strawberry tree and look at how fast we have been getting a lot of rain, but this week is supposed to dry out. We may have a hurricane headed our way. Hopefully not, but we'll have to see. But just look at, sorry, I had a mosquito flying around me. Look at the the amount this thing has grown, it's unbelievable how fast this thing has grown. And I don't know if there's any fruit ready right now, but it's been producing fruit. There's some green fruit. That's not a mosquito. It may be a deer fly. But so yeah, it's doing really well. I topped this mulberry because it was getting too high, and so anytime you top it or prune it back, it grows back really fast. Mulberries tend to go through this where they look like crap, and then they, you know, especially if you prune them, they come back strong. So but it seems like every time I prune it, it starts to produce. So there's a red one over there. It's not ready yet. It hasn't produced a lot. It's just going through a little sad phase right now, but we will see. But you can see like all the blooms coming up. You can see, I don't remember if I cut it over here, but like right here, for example, I cut it there and it just starts to come back. So I'm telling you, if you are living in Florida and you want to grow a fruit tree that is vigorous and will produce a lot, grow a mulberry. This star fruit is really getting tall. I'm hoping that if we don't have a harsh winter again, harsh, I say harsh, and it's all you know, in perspective, harsh for us here. If we don't have a harsh winter, I'm hoping that it will produce a little bit next year. But I'm just amazed at that strawberry tree and how it just has bounced back so fast from where it got frozen last year. But anyways, that's about it. So I will begin to plant in the lasagna bed, and we will see what happens. Hopefully this will be an experiment that pays off. If not, I won't be doing it anymore. I have heard both good and bad with this style. I've heard some people say that they've had really good results. I've heard some people say they've had really bad results. So we'll see what happens. And oh yeah, real quick, you can see really well on this side, this roselle right here. See all the buds coming up. So we're gonna have roselle. We're gonna have stuff that I hopefully can make some tea. Hopefully can make some cranberry sauce or something with it. But that's about it for today. So next step, I will begin planting. I'll be starting with the yellow pear tomatoes, and I will document the process. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all next time.